Senator, I try to look on the bright side of things, but I'm looking at murders going up. I'm seeing corruption galore. I'm seeing violence breaking out in cities around the country. I'm seeing lawlessness at the federal level. Things aren't looking so hot.
Well, sadly, the left embraces violence now. You look at this Department of Justice. Joe Biden's Department of Justice has become thoroughly political. We saw that with Merrick Garland ordering the FBI to investigate parents as domestic terrorists. We saw that with Merrick Garland refusing to prosecute protesters at the homes of Supreme Court justices, despite an explicit federal criminal statute that makes it a crime to protest at a judge's house while a case is pending. These are protesters that are inherently threatening violence, being at the home while your spouse is there, while your children are sleeping there. And we saw the violence escalate all the way up until someone arriving and being arrested finally for attempted murder of Justice Brett Kavanaugh. And throughout it all, the Democrats, they continued their pattern, which is to embrace mob violence to further their political agenda. We saw the White House press secretary urging people to keep protesting at the homes of Supreme Court justices. In our nation's history, I'm not aware of another situation in which the White House press secretary has urged the American people to commit a federal crime. We saw when people harassed and harangued Justice Kavanaugh at a steakhouse in D.C., we saw Pete Buttigieg encourage them and celebrate their harassing and haranguing him. Mind you, this is just a few weeks after he had faced an attempted murder of a guy who came from California with a gun and a knife and zip ties to murder Justice Kavanaugh. And this continues a pattern that we see going back for years, going back to 2020, going back to the Antifa and Black Lives Matter riots all across the country.
Well, and there's a distinction between what you're describing here is there's the violence on the ground, the BLM violence, the Antifa violence, the regular thugs in the streets who are attacking people and robbing people. That's one kind of lawlessness. But then there's this other kind of lawlessness you're describing, which is that the law enforcement arms of the government are looking the other way and in some cases actually encouraging the crime.
Sadly, that's exactly right. Merrick Garland, he's given no justification. Listen, I've called on Dick Dermott, the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, bring Merrick Garland before the Judiciary Committee and have him testify about why he's not doing more to protect Supreme Court justices.